Welcome everyone to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales, and for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Jennifer Keogh, right? Jennifer Keogh. Did I get that last name right?
You got it perfectly.
All right. And me and Jen been trying to book this call for months and months. So, Jen, again, thank you so much for being on. So, let me tell you a little bit about Jen. She's a coach and author based in Sydney with a beautiful son and a beloved cat. I love that. After overcoming personal adversity and chronic illness, she dedicated her life to helping women on their path to healing, self-discovery, releasing their past, and life transformation. Jen, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Will. Thank you so much for your patience in organizing this because we're literally on opposite sides of the planet.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, it's 10 p.m. Eastern time here in New York City, and you are, what time is it over there now?
It's midday the next day, so I'm
Next
ahead
day,
of
so it's
you.
Saturday.
Yeah, midday. Yeah, well, 12 noon.
12 noon, okay. And today's topic is a good one. It's dating for personal development. I like that. So, Jen, tell us a bit about yourself. What was your journey like to get here to today? What was that journey like for you?
What a journey. Well, it started, I guess, 6, 7 years ago when my long-term partner, not the father of my son,
Hmm.
um, started cheating on me. So with his
Hmm.
business partner, and my whole world just fell apart. So prior to that, my son also his father had had an accident and became quadriplegic. So
Right.
I was navigating that with my son, and then on top of that, I had this happen, and my whole world just fell apart very quickly. And then, of course, COVID hit, and then the lockdown. So it was within 6 months, everything unraveled. And but I learned it's been like a university degree in life, that's for sure. Um, I learned what it's like to all of a sudden just like have your brain break, have it snap when I realized when I discovered the betrayal. So,
Hmm.
and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have such an understanding of what it's like when you go through such a traumatic experience because it was literally in the blink of an eye. I saw something on his phone and everything just collapsed for me in a very public space. And my brain broke, is the best way I put it. I think most people understand it in that way, in that I could not function from that day on. Well, barely, only just to take care of my son.
Hmm.
And then there were other things that happened, like experiencing gaslighting, and over the next 6 months, just a lot of things, nasty experiences. But they did give me this opportunity to really understand and delve into trauma and PTSD and see PTSD, and then looking back, seeing how it had played out in my life and how toxic relationships also had played out in my life. And with every single significant partner, it was toxic. And
Yeah.
I thought it was new because the first man I had a toxic guess relationship with was my father, and I did not have the best childhood. So I've learnt that when you grow up in those situations, in those environments, your brain and nervous system is hardwired in this way that this is the normal, and we are more likely to navigate towards a familiar hell rather than a unknown heaven. So this is why I kept falling into these relationships, is because of what I knew. But if I didn't have this experience and this unraveling and me wanting to understand what was going on, I wouldn't have learned all of this. And I wouldn't have written my book, which is the book that I needed when everything did fall apart, because I just couldn't find um, something that was had a friendly, easy tone to read. Because when you're in that state, you can't process. I was barely sleeping or eating, but I wanted to be better because I had this little boy that all of a sudden I'm his sole carer. He's heartbroken because his daddy's had a very bad accident, and couldn't be there for him anymore. And I'm navigating my heartache because I thought I was spending the rest of my life with this person, of course. And so yeah, the most of the books I picked up, um, there were men who had written them as well. And I just needed something very practical that understood. And so I ended up a few years later on writing the book with a very friendly tone, and very practical. So yeah, I went into that. I've got another couple of books, and I'm also creating. So that was how to heal from toxic relationships. I'm doing how to heal from your inner child and how to heal your shadow self. So it's been this big journey, and yeah, definitely a journey, and it's brought me to where I am today. I I've studied root cause therapy because I believe going back, dealing with the root cause, not just patching up what's going on, the symptoms now. So I've been delving into that as well, studying that. I'm studying fascial maneuvers so I can learn, because we hold it all within us. We hold all these emotions within us. And then, nervous system. And then it comes to the dating as well, which while I'm doing all of this, um, I'm also dating because what I found is cocooning yourself is not going to help you heal. And it's not like for a while it is. It's great. You need to isolate yourself, just rediscover yourself and heal yourself. But then you need to come out. And with dating, you are meeting different people who bring out different parts within you. And I'm really interested in people's stories. And so that's how I started navigating dating is, well, with first dates, I just figured, well, if the very worst thing that can happen is we have a cup of coffee and I listen to their story.
Right.
And and that was it. Yeah. So that was that's how I'm here today, Will.
No, no, it's an interesting story. So, it's funny that you say that, you go on first dates, you start healing, and you figure at a certain time that you're ready to be out there again. And today's topic is a good one. It's dating for personal development, basically. And
Mm.
when I talked to you about or emailed you, if you could explain to my audience, how did that come into play, dating for personal development? If you could explain that, uh, because
Yeah.
that could work, right? It worked for you, but I'm saying for other people that might, have baggage, as they say. That's the new term here in America, the baggage, the past, and so you got all these new terminology I gotta keep up with. But let's talk more about dating for personal development and what does that entail and what does that mean?
Well, I've been dating off and on for, well, prior to this year, because I am dating someone exclusively now, for
Okay.
about 4 years. And to start off with, I kind of had this because I hadn't dated with apps before. I met my previous partner, right? He sat next to me in a conference. Um, and prior to that, it was the websites. So I hadn't used apps before, and it's a very different world now. And I felt like there's this attitude people are disposable. And I did buy into it for a while, as
Mhm.
I was healing as well. And there is such a negative discourse around online dating. And I decided that I didn't want to buy into it. And I didn't want to contribute to any more unkindness in the world because there are so many people online, who are hurt. And this is from listening to their stories and asking men their experience of dating and online dating. And I could see so much hurt. The men I was dating were mainly later 40s, 50s, um, maybe touching in the 60s, depending on
How good of a
how.
shape they are in?
Yeah, yeah. So it's and I'd also talk to some men in their 20s as well, because I would often leave it open. Because, like I said, I became interested in their stories. And when you learn other people's perspectives, it changes yours as well.
Mm,
When it comes to the personal development side of it, everybody that you meet is different and has their own story.
right.
And every person that you might go on a few dates with, or you might date them for 1 or 2 months, where they bring out a different side in you. And I came across one gentleman who I discovered very quickly was a narcissist, and the red flags were there. And in the past, I know I would have continued with this man, and I ended it. I took longer than I would now to end it, but within a few weeks, he was gone, and I was so proud of myself. And then you reflect back and you think, oh, okay, you reflect back and you think, what were the signs and how did I react? How could I have done better? Um, yeah, it helps. It helps you change, and then you find out what you want, what you don't want, and you also don't take it personally because, as I said, there's so much pain online.
Yeah.
There's people, their traumas are coming up. I have a lifetime of, yeah, the baggage. I still have baggage.
I think we all do. But you
I
touched on
still do
something,
it.
Jennifer, that and I don't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to touch on this subject. It's reflecting back and like looking back. And I had to do that too, like 5, 6 years ago, because I was in a relationship with a woman that didn't care about me. And I poured all my heart and money into this relationship and nothing
Yeah.
happened. And I remember leaving, and the relationship ended early, but we still had some business dealings together, which and I would definitely talk to like my fellow man and say, listen, if you're gonna get in partnership with your girlfriend slash female friend, whatever, you have to have caution. You have to have things in writing. I wouldn't recommend it, and it's that, but that's just me. But the main point was, Jennifer, that at that point I had to reflect, and I hadn't done that before.
Yeah.
So that was, part of my personal development, which, makes sense. And, today's title, Dating for Personal Development, I had to reflect and realize, what the hell am I doing wrong? And, slowly but surely, I remember some of my friends telling me some stuff and everything. But fast forward, like you said, we all have baggage, that doesn't go, but it's just, I think the important part is their self-reflection that you talked about and just looking back and realizing, hey, I saw the red flags, but I ignored it.
Mm.
Now I see the red flags and I'm going to cut it off as soon as possible. Can that be something that people could look into, especially, if you have a bad relationship? Can they reflect, or they just don't want to reflect?
Well,
Did that make sense? I know I was in a tangent all over the place.
makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. It's absolutely you reflect back and you think, what how could things have been different or what is it that triggered me? But the most important thing people forget about too is how do I feel in this?
Mm,
How's my nervous system? Because it gives us clues. It whispers to us and then it gets louder and louder and louder. And when you
100%.
reflect, yeah, when you reflect, you need to consider that. Um, I think it all starts with your nervous system. It knows before we do. It's much smarter than us, and that's been really crucial for me as well. We've been taught in dating, oh, I hope they like us, but we
Mm,
forget, do you like them?
yeah.
Do you like them? And when you're saying, I hope they like us, you're looking for validation externally. You don't
And I
need
did that throughout my 20s and 30s. Yeah, 100%.
then 40s.
Yeah, I didn't want to go that high, but I wanted to keep that on the down low, so that's why I just said 20s and 30s.
My whole life is do they like me without thinking about do I like them? How do I
Yeah.
feel with them? How do they make, and also how do they make me feel about myself?
Mhm.
Do they lift me up? And you're not going to experience this by staying at home or
Yeah.
staying with the same little group of friends, or you need to meet different people and experience this and have a bit of a thicker skin. If they ghost you, oh well, wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And, it's part of that as well. And I think when you have that, when you're sure of yourself, when you're focused on your nervous system, it doesn't worry you so much if they ghost you or whatever. It's like, okay, there's so many people in the world. That's just not my person.
Yeah.
It's not my person, and leave it at that. And before I met my partner now, my attitude was, of course, this is taking a while. I'm looking for somebody unique and exceptional. And there's not many of those people around, the
Yeah.
exception for me. So
Right.
there's not a lot of them around. Of course, it's taking a while. So you just focus on yourself
Okay.
and having a beautiful life for yourself and those around you. Be discerning about the people around you as well. Make sure they're lifting you up. There will be some culling. It can be painful growth, growing pains.
And let
Yeah.
me, I like that part of growing pains. Now, you've been, I'm not saying you, but in general, let's say people have been through relationships, and you realize it's not working. It could be myself, I'm picking the wrong partner. I'm not looking at I'm ignoring the wrong flags. So when we do work on ourselves, right, whether we're reading a book, listening to podcasts, whatever that may be, do you believe that that partner will show up when you least expect it? Like now you focus on other things, but are we not dating it for a while? We working on ourselves. Are we doing the personal development for a little while? And then in our gut, it tells us, okay, I'm ready to go out there. Or, in other words, like when will we meet that person? Is it like could be accidental, or are we trying to meet that person after we do the personal development? Does my question make sense?
It does. And it's just a flow. It's a
Okay.
trust in the universe or God or whatever you believe in. It's just trusting and
Hmm.
going with the flow, but also trusting yourself as well. We
Right.
forget we need to trust ourselves. If we truly trust ourselves to take care of ourselves, we don't have to worry about what other people do because we know we'll take care of ourselves.
Right.
And there was I probably took sometimes like 4 months of a break. When I had a disappointment, there's one in particular I can think of, and I was so disappointed the way it ended. And so I took 4 months off from
Wow.
dating and just,
But after that fourth month, Jennifer, you knew you wanted to go out there again?
oh yeah, yeah,
What
you
was
just you
what was
start
that
to
feeling like?
you just start to get curious.
Ah, okay. Okay. That's
Yeah,
simple.
yeah, it's just that simple. You get curious. And I enjoy my company. Yeah, I like being on my own. I like having some space and recharging and in that way, and doing things for myself. So it's it's a balance, yeah. But I do definitely want to share it with somebody, and this year I have been, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in a really good place to be sharing with somebody as well, because you also don't want to bring it's not so much the baggage. The baggage is fine because he's aware of my baggage. Um, I I think it's the charge of the baggage.
Should you talk about that at the beginning of the relationship, like what, or as you get to know the person? Because that seems that could be touchy. Like, do you want to hide your baggage, or do you want to, say it up front?
Yeah,
Are you afraid that you might chase the person away? But then if you do, then okay, I dodged the bullet because you know what, they might not be able to handle me.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Well, I have a lot for a man to consider because, well, for starters, I have a child with disability,
sure.
and that can be something that somebody doesn't want to, they might not want to have that in their life because
Hmm.
it does, yes, it. it influences your life. And my son brings so much joy, but there's
Right.
some people who don't want that. They want a certain freedom, or so that, I was upfront, always upfront with that. Before I even met them, I said, I have a child with Down syndrome.
Right.
Some would disappear. Great. They're not my person. It's
Right.
a
Right.
fantastic filter. And then I'd elaborate more about his dad. Usually with my ex, with the betrayal, that would be further down the track.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then you just reveal a little bit more and more as you trust them and as they get to know you more as well and
Yeah,
who
because you're
you are.
feeling comfortable now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So Jen,
exactly.
yeah. So what would be a couple of steps that someone could take to get into that personal development, their own personal development after a bad breakup? And we'll talk about your book because that's very interesting. Um, so can you give us like a couple of steps, like how can we get out of that funk? We're sad, we lost someone that we really cared about, but unfortunately, it wasn't felt the other way. So can you at least break down maybe a couple of steps, like what we could do to, let's say, to recover, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Well, my book's great. It explains
Okay.
it breaks it down. There's 5 stages, and I've broken it down very
Okay.
um clearly. Five stages of healing from a toxic relationship. But it's definitely, to begin with, you need to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
Um, you need to, like, the basics are hydration, sleep if you can get it, nutrition, those sorts of things are very important. Getting some sunshine. It's just the biology of you,
Yeah.
really. And of course, what's incredibly important is your community, people around you, your support network. If you don't have too many people, maybe it could be like your hairdresser, your my massage therapist. Whoa, she went through all of it with me.
Right.
Because I have something called fibromyalgia, so I require regular massage. And she was a great support as well. So it can be support outside of, friends, family, if you don't have many, if you're isolated.
Yeah.
Um,
So the biggest thing is community. I mean, one of the biggest things is just having like, okay, no, that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. And I didn't have much at the time.
Hmm.
Um, and so you come out of that and you start to think, well, because you do learn, and when you're more discerning about who you have in your circle,
Right.
in your inner circle, you can be more vulnerable, you can lean on them more. So it's very important. Yeah, if you don't have that now, you'll be fine. There's
Right.
online communities as well.
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, so that's really important. And then there's doing the little things for yourself that bring you joy, the glimmers.
Hmm.
For me, I did, well, what did I call them? Croissant, what did I call them? Little croissant moments. I would go and have, because all of a sudden, because I couldn't eat,
Hmm.
my gut healed itself and I was no longer gluten intolerant.
Right.
And I
Right.
could now eat croissants. So I had these, I would go to different bakeries and try the croissants
Hmm.
and have coffee. And that was my breakfast. I would drop my son off, go somewhere else, and have these little croissant moments of joy, of little glimmers rather than triggers.
Right.
And it was so wonderful because it's been like 15 years prior. I couldn't have any gluten.
Yeah.
So it's finding these little things that bring you joy and a little bit of purpose in your day and something to look forward to.
Hmm.
Um, And then, whether you consume via YouTube, podcasts, or books or whatever, start delving a bit. Even Chat GPT, make a friend out of Chatty. Tell Chatty what's going on, and it can recommend um, yeah, resources for you as well. And
Right.
it depends where you're at with the healing journey. I do there's root cause therapy, and I do something called tapping, where you tap on the meridians, and it helps like
Hmm.
this. It
Okay.
helps rewire yourself as well, or calm down if you're in heightened emotions and states. Yeah, it's a lot of learning. I find a lot of comfort in awareness. So learning about the nervous system
Yeah.
and triggers and that it and also giving yourself some forgiveness. Like what happened, it might not be your fault, but it is your responsibility to sort it out, but it's not your fault. And you can go back and you can rewrite
Hmm.
the experience as well. Like for me, at the time, I felt weak because I couldn't, because of my situation, I couldn't just tell him to go away and block him and all of that. I
Right.
was in a very vulnerable situation with COVID and everything that had been going on. At the time, I felt weak by society standards because I wasn't this woman standing up to the world, but I was so broken. Um, and then I look back and I think of myself and I have so much compassion for myself in those moments.
Right.
And she was strong, that version of me. She kept it together kind of for her son. And yeah, she sacrificed a lot and did her
Right.
very, very best. And we all do our best. So it's compassion as well for ourselves and time. Just give yourself time. And
I think
it's
that's probably
fine.
the biggest thing, is the time. Yeah. Well, first of all, Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really appreciate it. And before I let you go, talk more about your book.
Ah, yes, How to Heal from Toxic Relationships. It's the book I needed when everything fell apart. And
Hmm.
um it's very it's more like a guidebook and there's 5 stages. There's, taking care of yourself and then figuring out your values and your boundaries and um it just walks you through rediscovering yourself and then putting an action plan into place and finally celebrating yourself.
Hmm.
And it's a book you can go back to in all different sections, and you can apply this whole process to many other things in your life, moments in your life as well. It's a very simple process, but yeah, it's challenging. It is a lot, but
Hmm.
it's worth doing. And everybody has their baggage, their traumas in all different ways. And I think when we realize that we're all souls, and we all want connection. And there's just so much hurt in the world.
Yeah.
And just take a book like mine, go through it, learn, heal, and show other people what it's like. And
Yeah.
that ripple out into the world, that positive ripple, that's what we want. And hopefully,
Like
they'll
you attract that one person, that person. Yeah.
exactly create this beautiful ripple and influence. You just never know who you might help along the way. And
Yeah.
even if it is someone you go on a first date with, you might never hear from them again. But just listening to their story, you just don't know how much that could help them. And yeah, so that's why I wrote the book for myself, for that version of myself, and to put a positive ripple out there in the world.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely put that on the show notes. And if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Well, I have my website is jenniferkeogh.com,
Yeah.
and then there's Instagram, which is the.healed.woman.
Okay. I'll put that on
And
the show notes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and my email, which is
Yeah.
jenniferkeogh.com. You can just
Yeah.
email me, come and say hello.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely put that on the show notes. Well, Jen, again, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.